Alrighty. Well, yes, I'm going to go there. I guess as the old saying goes, it's good to be hung for a sheep as a lamb. If you know what that means, you can look it up yourself. My body, my choice. That is kind of one of the rallying cries, if you will, of the sort of pro-abortion movement. And just one thing to briefly mention, sort of before getting into it, just as an aside, the interesting thing is, a lot of the same people who were, who use that statement, my body, my choice, body autonomy, during all the COVID, who are the same people were really big on vaccine mandates and mask mandates and, basically all this other stuff, basically trying to tell other people what to do with their body, which was just seemed kind of, I don't know, counterintuitive, a bit of a paradox, if you will, but there you go. This is all aside to think about. So my body, my choice. I think I'll start with, to me, one of those the fundamental thing is my body. In the simplest terms, or in the simplest analysis, if you take a DNA sample of the life that is growing inside a mother or mother to be, and compare that with the DNA sample of the mother, what you'll find is it's different DNA. Morning. By any, they're definitely related, most likely, unless it's a surrogate or IVF, but they're different DNA, and from, if you took the two samples to any sort of forensic forensic lab, they would definitely verify that, okay, these are two different people. If they were given the two samples, weren't told where they're from, they would say, no, these are not the same person, two different people. So that's kind of in a very sort of simplest, most fundamental terms. The life that's growing inside the woman is not her body. It's someone else's body, and we can debate personhood in another video, but again, it's not her DNA, it's someone or something else's DNA. And the interesting is and I haven't researched this in depth, there's a little caveat, but pretty much everything, as far as I know, everything inside the uterus, apart from the uterus itself, has the baby's DNA. So so the baby has its own DNA. The umbilical cord and the placenta, they are all the child's body. They're not the mother's body. I don't know much about the kind of biology or the biochemistry of the placenta, but it's kind of fascinating thing that you have like this thing up against the inside wall of the uterus that is as far as I know, behaves sort of vaguely like the lungs, in that, or vaguely like the lungs. The lungs have like it's an air blood sort of interface, where oxygen and carbon dioxide cross over through a membrane, and I believe the placenta behaves in a very similar fashion, in that the mother's blood and the baby's blood, both filling those, the baby's blood is filling the placenta up against the uterus wall, and so everything that the baby needs to grow is crossing that membrane from the mother's blood into the child's blood, which is just fascinating, like including the oxygen, and I presume carbon dioxide, all the fluid, all the nutrients. It's like, yeah, fascinating, absolutely fascinating thing. But again, the baby is not, in that sense, technically, and again, based on my knowledge, some doctors people may know more, refute this, but to my knowledge anyway, so there is no point where the bloodstreams are connected, and so so the baby is not a part of the mother's body. It is, it has very close interface, but it is not actually connected. Which I think is fascinating. But again, from a purely sort of technical, biological standpoint, the claim, my body, my choice, this doesn't hold true, because it's like, it's not your body, it's someone else's body growing inside of yours. Now you can make arguments about, well, but it's it's like a parasite, which I guess it technically is, although it's I think I think again, sort of straying into areas I'm not an expert in, but I think in biological terms, it's probably not a parasite's probably the wrong word for it, since the human body has been designed to, the whole point of the uterus is to do that. So I would say it's probably more symbiosis. Symbiotic relationship would be perhaps a more accurate term, since it's it's by design. It's not it's not sort of by accident. But anyway, so that's the first. That is the first. Well, that is really the key. The key thought is, it's not your body. Now you could say, well, okay, but that body is completely dependent on my body. So in a sense, it is my body, because without me it would die. And I want to just unpack that with a couple of analogies. I think that sort of in a I think a reasonable analog would be that the child is a tenant of the uterus. It's it's renting it out for a defined period, and then it's going to leave. And so where I think this is people would say, hey, that's totally different. It kind of is, but I think there are some useful sort of similes and metaphors to make. So we own some rental properties. Actually, funny thing is, we're renting ourselves at the moment. I think it makes us really good tenants because we're also landlords. But so we own some rental properties. Now I could say, well, you know, that house is my house, and okay, someone else is living in it, but it's my house. So you know, I could make the argument that I should be able to just show up and start living in it whenever I want, because it's, you know, it's my house. So I don't care if someone else is living there. I can just throw them out and, oh look, they left a whole bunch of nice stuff. Fine, I can utilize that, and just, you know, throw out the tenant and take over myself. And what you find is there's, I mean, every state pretty much, there are laws forbidding that you know, the tenant has rights. You know, they're there under contract, and you know, if I want them to leave, you know, depending on the terms of the contract, I have to wait till the contract expires, or if it's month to month, like you have to give them, you know, 30 days or 60 days notice or what have you. But anyway, you know, you can't just kick out a tenant because they've got rights. You know, there's agreement in place for them to, you know, for them to stay there, and you know, because they need it to survive. You know, people need a roof over their head, somewhere to live and make their base and build their life. And so you know, so too it is with you know, a baby, you know, growing inside a woman. It's like there's a defined kind of time frame. In effect, there is a contract in place. They're there to you know, be a tenant of that uterus for, you know, 9 months, while they're kind of growing into, you know, who they need to be in order to survive outside. And so that, you know, it's reasonable that that they be allowed to do so, even if it's, you know, in the case of me, you know, maybe, you know, I screwed up as a tenant in my house and I got thrown out. Well, I can't just throw one of my tenants out, and, you know, because it's like, well, I want somewhere to live. You know, it's inconvenient for me. More convenient if I can have my house back. Throw the tenant out. Again, can't do that. And so I think that, you know, there was a lot of similarity there. I think a lot of sort of same arguments I think can be made. And, you know, again, you can, you know, things like rape or danger to the, you know, a threat to the mother's life. You know, I guess, you know, you could probably make some analogies there with the whole tenancy thing. You know, if someone's broken into the house, taken up abode, yeah, you can throw them out if they're destroying the place. You know, they've broken the contract, yeah. But yeah, so that's a part of it. I think the other thing, again, I'll briefly touch on, is that, you know, I think the problem is if you do say my body, my choice, then as far as the father is concerned, and there is a, you know, kind of by definition, there's a father somewhere. Yeah, they could then say, well, okay, your body, your problem. So, I mean, if, you know, if the father's not on the scene, well, that's a great argument against child support. It's like, well, it's not my body, so why are you expecting me to pay for it? Again, I don't agree with that, but that is a you know, a line of argument that the my body, my choice argument opens you up to. That it's like, okay, if it is your body and it is your choice, well, then it's your choice. So you can't expect anyone else to pay for the choice that you're making for something that's ostensibly your body. And, you know, and in fact, you could extend that probably to, you know, child support. After the fact, you could probably extend that to alimony. You you know, hey, you can't make me do, work for you. Again, these are not arguments I'm making. I'm just saying that the my body, my choice argument kind of leaves you open to them. Anyway, that's probably all I've got for now. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.